afternoon, good evening to you, all the people of the tube, about everything around one world. Hello there. A little bit of a different video today, and it'll be the only video of a week. At this point in time, it is Mental Health Awareness Week, so I thought I would do kind of a video to help promote that, so to say. Yeah, as a person who has had mental health issues for the best part of 20 years, you know, I want to do a video today kind of like, you know, taking you around certain places that kind of altered the course of my life, so to say. And I want to talk about some of the things that kind of like, you know, made me kind of better at it and not be so much a slave to it, because you do feel in some respect of when you have anxiety issues or depression or, you know, or anything like that, you do feel a bit of a slave to it. You do feel like you've got to kind of live by its rules, and I want to do this here to say that no, you don't. It feels like it, but no, you don't have to live that way. And so yeah, so I'm going to take you around some of the places that kind of changed the way I was, and tell you, you know, some of the stories. They're not the nicest stories in the world, but I feel it's kind of important, you know, and hopefully bring out a bit more awareness. So yeah, let's get on with the video and take you to the first place. Okie dokie, we're on our way to first location of the day. This is where all my mental health issues started. It's my secondary school. So yeah, we'll get there and I'll tell you a few stories. Okay, so this is the building. This is where my life changed. This is where my mental health issues became an issue. I didn't have them before here, but it was basically 4 years of hell. Started off quite tolerable in my year 8 of school. Year 9 got worse, year 10 got worse, year 11 I basically didn't come to school. I was too scared. I didn't really want to be here, just because, you know, the abuse I was getting. I never got physical abuse, I got mental and verbal abuse, which is kind of, all in fairness, kind of like just as bad. A lot of psychological kind of torment went on here. And it didn't help the fact I got no help from teachers. You know, there was a lot of, oh, you're weak, Dave, you're a weak person. You know, you're causing this, you're a weak person, it's all on you, you know, this, that and the other. I remember being in floods of tears in my head of year's office, and she was just shouting top of her voice at me, saying how much it's my fault that I'm being bullied. Because that's what it came down to, I was being bullied, and that's what caused my anxiety and depression. And I say, my mum used to come and drop me off in the morning, and I would literally walk in the gate, wait for my mum to drive off, and I'd walk straight back out again and just go wandering around. And we'll get to a bit more about later on what I actually did. Next location we get to, I'm going to talk a bit more about that and why. It was just I was too scared to go. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be around the people I was around. It scared me. It was terrifying. I remember one time, just tell you this quick story before moving to the next location. I was in lesson. This guy walked past. This is in year 10. This guy walked past me to see the teacher. I used to sit at the front nearest the teacher. That's where I felt the safest. And as he walked back past me, he got my leg of my chair and pulled my chair out from behind me, and I hit my back. Teacher stood up and said, "Why did you do that?" And then he said his name. I remember his name. I remember his face as well. And the guy turned around and said, "It doesn't matter, it's only Dave, it doesn't matter." And that was it. That was literally, that's what I had to deal with on a daily basis. It was literally like, you know, we don't care about you. And it just does, you know, when you're that young, it just absolutely torments you. It just messes you up, absolutely messes you up. So I used to avoid it. I used to be scared of going. So I used to just skive, you know, then go. I just realised I got my sunglasses on, that's a bit rude. But yeah, so this building changed the course of my life, and that's a bit weird to think about sometimes. So let me take you to the next location. This is kind of like a place I used to go and find refuge from all the horribleness. Let's go there now. You on? Mm-hmm. Okay, so building on the right, this is it. This is what changed my life. And my mum used to drop me off here, just on this left side of the road where I'm driving over now. And I'd walk along this path on the right side, and I'd go in these gates here, and then I'd wait for it to pass and I'd just walk out again. and just wander off to the next location where we're going now, where I just felt, as long as I was away from it, I felt safe. So, you know, I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so this was my refuge. When I used to leave school, I would walk down here. It's about a 10-15 minute walk from the school I was at. And I started coming here in year 9 when it started to kind of get worse. And then year 10, I came here more often. And towards the end of year 10, I didn't come here anymore. There wasn't any, I mean, if you look around, it's gorgeous here. But there wasn't any solace by the end of year 10. It wasn't as happy, it wasn't an escape anymore. I used to come up here and make my pack up my mum had made. I'm getting attacked by flies of death. I used to come up here, sit on this exact bench, it hasn't moved since. And I thought, like, I was explaining to Joe, I thought if I was up high I could see somebody coming, I could just run. If somebody noticed me and somebody noticed I wasn't at school, I could just run for it. But no one ever caught me. Stealth Dave. But no, I found this place and it just kind of like, I used to spend hours here, just walking around and just being alone in my own thoughts, really. Anywhere was better than being at school and having to go through what I had to go through. Just away from people. If you're not near people, they can't hurt you, was the idea. So yeah, many hours spent on this bench when I was younger. But like I say, towards the end of year 10, when things really ramped up and got bad, this place was no longer a place kind of like I could go to and escape it. And you got to remember, I didn't have guitar at this point. I didn't play guitar, I didn't have music, so I had no escape. I had no vent for it. I just had to kind of like push it down and kind of deal with it as best I could. And when you're 14, 15, 16 or whatever I was, it's like you can't do that. It's really hard, and especially when there's like your mum and dad are trying to help you, but nobody in the place where it's happening is trying to help you. You tend to lose kind of the will. And say towards the end of year 10, my brain started to get very, very dark. You know, the thoughts of nattiness, which we'll get onto in a minute when our next location. But yeah, this was my place. Are they? Okay, we're on our way to the next place. This is where things got dark, but my anxiety problems started happening in year 8. And I didn't know what they were, these anxiety attacks I was having. I was like, what is going on with me? And then year 9 they got worse, year 10 they got worse, year 11 I couldn't leave the house. I was just terrified of them, but you know, what with one thing and another, you have to leave the house. So, you know, you kind of force yourself out. But I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what these feelings were. I thought I was going insane. I literally thought I was going absolutely insane. I thought my mind was just going. And towards the end of year 10 in secondary school in year 11, I started walking along this very road. And this road's out in the middle of nowhere, but it is a busy road for farm traffic, and we're talking big trucks, tractors, things hurt along this road really fast, and it's out the way of everyone. And it was just a simple fact of, I used to walk right down the middle of this road, and I just wanted something to hit me. Just wipe me out, and I don't have to deal with it anymore. It's over, and no one will find me if I get knocked off into one of these hedges. No one will find me, I'm gone. That's it, it's fine then. I ain't got to worry about these people at school anymore causing me grief. People at school not helping me. I felt I was being a burden to my family because of the way I was. You know, I wasn't, but it feels that way when you're in it. You feel like it's best off if you're not here, if you don't exist. So I used to walk this road pretty much every day. Well, not every day, but kind of a couple of times a week I would walk this road and just hope that something would come and smash into me and just take me out of the equation, basically. I wouldn't have to feel that anxiety, I wouldn't have to feel the fear, I wouldn't have to be scared, I wouldn't have to have that knot in my stomach of that scaredness of going to school or whatever. It was just a very logical idea, you know. If you're gone, they can't hurt you. You know, and then you're not being a burden for anybody else. You know, you're out of the picture, and then that's game over. And again, but like I said, I didn't have music, I didn't have guitar at this point, I had nothing. Well, I couldn't think of anything anyway. I thought of ways that I could to go, to the point where it was just like horrendous dark thoughts, like if I do this a certain way, at least my family can say goodbye to me because I'll still have a head, and I'm pretty sure you can use your imaginations to know what that means. You know, or not finding me at all. I remember I had a meeting about skiving school with this teacher, and she said, "Do you know what would happen if something happened to you outside of school and nobody knew?" And I said, "Yeah, no one will, you know, it won't be good." In the back of my mind, I was thinking, I literally don't care. I don't give an F word. You know, and I just had to sit there and just kind of like just go through this entire hour-long meeting, literally thinking, yeah, what are you doing? You know, this is like a two-pronged video, really. It's kind of like, you know, just mental health awareness as well as bullying, because bullying it can damage you to a point where you don't come back from it. You know, there's many people I know, or I've read stories about, who didn't come back from it. You know, luckily I'm still here to talk about it. It's not easy to talk about, but at least I can talk about it, and I think that's progress. But I say, when you are kind of like questioning kind of like, you know, why you're here, what have you got to live for, and you sit there for hours and hours trying to think of a reason why you're alive and why you should be alive, and you come up with nothing, no reason whatsoever, you know you're in trouble. Especially when you are literally like, you know, how can I stop the world and get off, so to say. So yeah, I used to walk this road and just hope that would be that. Then I'd have worry more, fear, the anxiety, which I didn't know what it was at that time. It could all be gone, just like that. And it's just, you know, it's just amazing really how people don't realise how much it affects you. And oh, they're just being school kids. I don't care if they're just being school kids. It has to stop. It's horrendous. You know, there's no excuse. There's no excuse to wreck somebody's life. Just go, oh, they're school kids, they're young kids. I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care if you're young. You know, when you push somebody to the point where they don't want to be alive anymore, I don't care what your age is. You know, it's wrong one way or the other. Anyway, yeah, that's the location. Just want to tell you a few stories while we're on the way to the last place. This last location hasn't really got anything to do with the locations I've took you to before. It's just a nice place to be, just to finish this video on, really. I just want to tell you a couple of stories that kind of like happened to me as well. And again, if this reaches somebody who's going through the same thing, then it might just help them to see, you know, if I'm still here and, you know, I'm functioning, you know, and I can live with the horrible feelings. I guess the first time I've ever sworn on YouTube. What horrible feelings of anxiety and whatnot. You know, you can too. There is a way around it. You can do it. But I remember, like, you know, one time walking into a form room at secondary school, a load of lads grabbed me and they shoved me into a cupboard. Just pushed me into this cupboard and held it shut. And I thought back for a second in the cupboard, and I realised that, no, why am I fighting? Because if I'm in the cupboard, they can't hurt me. And I'll just stop fighting, and I'll just sat in there, and eventually somebody will have to come and let me out anyway. And if they don't, then it's not really an issue anyway. At least I'm out of the way, you know. And there's other issues where they'd break into my locker, they would like sabotage my school bag, they would throw my books around, they would do all sorts of horrible stuff. And I say, when you're that young and it's literally 15 against you, 15 people against you, or 16 or 17 or 18 or whatever, 40 by the end of it. You know, pretty much everybody by the end of my time at school saw me like a snitch and a troublemaker, including the teachers. Everyone wanted to get at me one way or another. You know, they just wanted, I don't know why they did it, but anyway, troublemaker. Yeah, sure I was. You know, just horrendous. But again, you do lose kind of focus on why you're even alive. and you want off, you want out, one way or the other you want out of it. It's scary, it's horrible, it's just not fun, and it's not what life's supposed to be when you're young. I always kind of feel like, you know, what would my life have been if I didn't experience any of that, you know? Because this anxiety problem that I developed and still go through to this day, you know, I've been going through it this week with depression issues and all that kind of stuff. To this day, I still go through it, and that's, you know, nearly 20 years later, well, about 18, 20 years later, it's like, it's ridiculous, really. It's amazing how things can change the course of your life. 4 years changed who I am in my mental state, and I've got told throughout the years, oh, it's, you know, I'll get over it, leave it in the past is the past. It doesn't work that way. Anxiety issues are horrendous, they're hard to live with. And it's about time people kind of realise how hard they are to live with, because until you're in this situation, you don't see it, because it is a symptomless thing. You know, my arm isn't falling off, I don't have, my skin's not melting off or anything like that. You know, it is literally kind of like an invisible kind of illness, really. You can't see it, but you can feel it, but only when you're going through it. You know, and it's, you know, it needs to be looked at more seriously than it actually is, because it's not. And I've been told throughout my entire life how, oh, it's not that bad. Anyway, we'll continue this in Buttermilk. Okay, so I hope this video hasn't been too waffly, but I do feel, as like I say, I didn't find out I was suffering from, I didn't even know what it was. You know, I went to the doctor, my mum took me to the doctors after I left school, because I was having these weird feelings, and like I said, I thought I was losing my mind, and I couldn't leave the house. I was scared of everything. I went to the doctors, and he says, oh, you've got anxiety problems. I was like, what's that? You know, what's an anxiety issue? I didn't know what it was. You know, and I got depression, obviously, from it as well. You know, mass depression. And, you know, it still affects me to this day. I have trouble trusting people. I'm a very kind of shy, kind of quiet, cut-off person. I don't like being in crowds of people. It tends to scare me. It makes me nervous. And this all stems back to what happened to me. I just don't like being around people. I'm very shy. I'm very quiet. Keep out of the way. I mean, I've always been a shy, quiet person, but like I said, during school, I didn't have a vent for it. I didn't have a release, and I feel this is kind of key to living with anxiety and depression, is to have a release. You need a release. You need something in your life that you can do just to take the edge off. And it wasn't until after I left school I found the guitar, and, you know, as I heard my you know, everyone, you know, the story of I hearing my dad and my sister just jamming away on this song. And as soon as I found the guitar, it was literally like, it was like somebody had opened the door and the light came in. Because up to that point, I was in a very dark place. And I started listening to music again, and finding, like, you know, music like Green Day, Offspring, Oasis, those music I used to listen to before all this nastiness happened, and starting to learn these songs and play the guitar. It wasn't until that point where it literally was like I say, the light came on, and it just felt like, you know, I can do this. Because up to that point at school, I tried everything to try and fit in, because I just wanted it to stop. So I would try everything, all the you know, all the bullying I would get, all the kind of psychological torture I'd go through. I would try anything I would just to fit in, to the point where people would say, I bet you can't stab that compass in your hand, Dave. And I would do it, because if I did that, they might stop for a day. You know, they might, but it was stupid as hell. But it wasn't until, like, the guitar came along that I was really kind of, and music came along that I was really kind of free of it, so to say. You know, I mean, luckily I had my family and I had friends outside of school who didn't go to the school I was at, who helped me out. And, you know, if it wasn't for them and music and my guitar, I wouldn't be here now speaking to you, lovely people out there. And I know a lot of you out there have this issue, because you've told me, and it shouldn't be a taboo subject. You know, it shouldn't be like, you know, suffer in silence thing, because that's absolute nonsense. It's horrendous. Suffer loudly. Because, you know, like I said, it's about 18 years since my anxiety issues still start, and to this day I find it hard to leave the house sometimes and go across the road to my local shop. It's across the road. It's like a 30-second walk, and I find that hard still sometimes today. And this entire week I have been at war with my brain telling me I'm worthless, I'm useless, you can't do this, you can't play guitar, you can't do this, that and the other. And I'm, you know, and it never goes away. But if you can find something in your life, be it guitar playing, painting, photography, writing, drawing, whatever, something creative, just to kind of be that little 5-minute release to get your brain out of that kind of, just to drag it away from, like, you know, the clutches of anxiety and depression, so to say. You know, you can live without it. I refuse to go on any medication for my anxiety. I refuse it. I'm just not going on medication. I don't want to go on it. I would rather kind of face it head on, as clear-headed as I can, which is very hard because when it strikes, clear-headedness goes right out the window. But yeah, you know, at school, it was hard. It was really hard, and it's caused so many issues for me. And, like, they still affect me now to this day. You know, nearly 31 this month, and it's still affecting me now from when I was at school. And it's like, it's mad to think, really. And like I say, there's no excuse on anybody's part who put me this way. They don't have an excuse. They messed me up, but I'm not going to let that become my life. I'm not going to let that dictate what I can and cannot do. I'm not going to let it. I don't want that. I don't want a life where I'm scared to go outside. I would rather go, I don't want to go outside, but I'm going to go outside and literally be like this the whole time I'm out, than cower to it. I know this is a lot easier said than done as well, because I know how hard it actually is. But it is a case of just finding that inner strength, and it is in everybody. And if I could find it, being at the lowest point I was at, where I was literally like, you know, thinking the darkest thoughts of, like, if I'm going to take some of you with me as well. You know, or I'm going one way or another, I just want off and out. Then if I can do it from that point, then, you know, you can do it as well. We all, you know, if there is a way around it, there is a way to do it. It's not easy, though. It's not easy, it's horrendous. But there's a lot to take solace in. I mean, look at this. If that's not worth being here for, I don't really know what is. You know, and bugger people who tell you you're useless or you're worthless or you can't do anything or you'll never amount to anything or, oh, stop complaining about your bloody anxiety, it's not really an issue. You know, bugger them people. I don't care if they're your closest family, bugger them. You know, if anybody can say that to you while you're in the pits of hell, you know, what good are they? That's a bit of a funny thing to say, I know. But it is a case of, it needs to be taken more seriously, because it literally is horrendous to have to deal with. Okay, I'm going to wrap up the video now, because it's been a quite long one. But again, I've kind of got my story across of, like, you know, what happened. That's the way I am, and I'm not the only person who's been through this, and I won't be the last, unfortunately. But that's why it's so important for this kind of, these stories to be told, and I want to hear your stories down there in the comment section. I want you to write big long essays if you're going through this thing, and through doing that, it just helps everybody else to realise you're not alone, because you do feel massively alone, even though you're not. I mean, I had my family, like I said, I had my friends, I have my, you know, people who helped me out. I've got Joe behind the camera who helps me out loads. You know, you need to be around those people who can help you when you need help. Not people who are going to be like, oh, don't burden me with your problems. You know, or you're a psychopath. What's wrong with your head? Are you a nutter or something? It's like, no, I'm not a nutter. I'm actually going through something absolutely horrendous. You know, being near the people who understand it and will help, or if they don't understand it but are happy to help you or talk you down, that's more important than being around people who literally just kind of like don't understand it. And, you know, don't try and fit in if you don't fit. It's not the be-all and end-all to be a trendy person just because you need to be. I mean, I used to think, like, you know, I used to love playing football, but I was no good at it. You know, I used to love art. I'm no good at art. I mean, it wasn't, like I say, until I found guitar, I was good at nothing. And that's why the guitar to me is such an important... It's my life. The guitar is kind of my life. Music's my life. And it's the only thing I'm good at. And it's... Because it's the only thing I'm good at, I want to, you know, do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to do anything else. That's why I'm so dedicated to guitar and music. And, you know... And the guitar is just a vent for me. When I play the guitar, it can... A lot of things I play come out sad. Because that's the way my brain is when I play guitar. That inner fear, anxiety, sadness, depression, it all flows out through the guitar and through the speakers. It all comes out through that. And then once it's out, it's out. Yes, it comes back. And it'll come back probably for the rest of my life. But that's not really a problem. You know... You just have to learn to live with it, really. Because I don't think there is a cure. I don't think there will be a cure for anxiety. You know, just keep on keeping on. In the words of Candlebox. But no, it is important to keep on. You don't want to stop just because, you know, there's always a reason. You've just got to find it, and you've got to dig deep and find that. But it is there. Like I say, if I can do it, then, you know, you can do it as well. You know, it sounds cliche as hell, but it is very true. So anyway, I say a bit of a different video, but I hope it's made sense. I hope it kind of, like, you know, if it reaches somebody out there who's going through the same things I've been through, and if some of the stories ring true for you, I hope it, you know, it can help you out. And, you know, mental health and anxiety issues, they do need to be taken more seriously, because they're just not. And it is a bit of a taboo subject. Like, don't say anything. Because I sat and suffered for it for years. You know, I wrote a million songs about it. One of the songs of mine called Overcome is exactly about it. But it is the title of the song, Overcome. That's exactly what it is. You know, you overcome it to the point where, you know, it never goes away. It's always going to be there, but you can live with it. You know, and you can function. Sometimes not very well, but you still can function. Joe's getting attacked by flies.
I am.
But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's not been too kind of ranty and ravey. That's more hair falling out. You know. I'm just going to get a big afro wig.
I think you'd look great.
Disco dead. Anyway, let's end on a positive note. I'm still here, and if I'm still here, anybody who's going through this can still be here. You know, ending it is not necessarily the answer. You know, just when you think you're at the lowest ebb and at the end is, you know, that this is the only way out, not necessarily, you know, there might just be another way. And if you want to talk to me about it, if anybody out there wants to talk to me about this, if you've got problems and you need to talk to somebody, message me on here, or find me on Facebook, or wherever. I will reply, you know, because it's important to me to help people in the same situations. Like I say, it still affects me today, so it's like, you know, it's not like I've got over it, and I never will, but you can live with it, and you can move on with your life with it. And there is ways around stuff. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable and it's horrible sometimes, but you can do it. You know. So that's ending on that positive. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video hasn't been too kind of like... But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again very soon for more guitar-related tomfoolery. You know, as we all love the guitar is our friend. And music is our friend. And music is an escape. So yes, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll leave you with this gorgeous view.